Hi everyone, it's Jack from Jack's English, and today we're getting back into Sherlock Holmes. I think it's been almost a month since we studied Sherlock Holmes, so today let's get back into the BBC drama. So we've got a short clip today from season 3. Sherlock and Watson are talking on a park bench, and we're going to learn 3 things from this conversation. So listen carefully to the next clip, and then we'll start today's lesson.
The press and the families gave him hell. He gets more death threats than you.
Well, I wouldn't count on that.
Why have you suddenly taken an interest in another human being?
So our first expression today is where Watson says, the press and families gave him hell.
The press and the families gave him hell.
So we're looking at give someone hell, which means to make things very unpleasant for someone. We can also say, you've probably heard this expression, give someone a hard time. So it's a very similar expression to give someone a hard time, but this is a little stronger because of the word we're using here. Now, it's a fairly common expression, particularly in speaking, and I prepared some examples. I gave him hell for arriving late. Now, obviously, he did a bad thing here, so I gave him hell. I gave him a hard time. Maybe I punished him or shouted at him, so I gave him hell. The next one, she gives me hell when I drink too much. Maybe this is a girlfriend or wife or friend. She doesn't like when I drink too much, so when I do that, she gives me a hard time. She shouts at me and punishes me for that action. So our first expression today is to give someone hell, which is to make things very unpleasant for someone. So our second thing to learn today is this phrasal verb, count on something. This is in the middle of the clip where Sherlock simply says, oh, I wouldn't count on that.
Well, I wouldn't count on that.
So we're looking at this phrase verb, count on something. I think you're familiar with count on someone, which means to rely on someone. For example, I'm counting on you to help me. It means I'm relying on you to help me. But today we're looking at something, which is slightly different meaning. To count on something means to expect something to be true or to happen, and then usually we include that in our plans. So firstly, let's look at my examples. I hadn't counted on it raining when I arranged the picnic. So I arranged a picnic in the past, and I hadn't counted on it raining. That means I hadn't expected it to rain, so I didn't include it in my plans. So I think we can guess from this example that perhaps I was caught in the rain. It rained during the picnic. The second example is I'm counting on 20 people coming to the party. It's a bit easier, this one. I'm planning a party. I'm counting on there being 20 people. So obviously, I've got to include that in my plans. Now, these are quite simple and very common examples. In the clip, Sherlock simply says, I wouldn't count on that. And the reason he said that is because Watson gave him this fact, this situation, and Sherlock is saying, I wouldn't count on that, meaning I wouldn't expect that to be true. So that's our second thing to learn today. It's a phrasal verb, count on something. Our final thing to learn today is to take an interest in someone or something. So in the clip, Watson asks Sherlock, why are you suddenly taking an interest in another human being?
Why have you suddenly taken an interest in another human being?
So the reason I've brought this up today is because I want to distinguish take an interest and to be interested, because there's a slight difference. To be interested in someone or something means it's describing our current state, our nature. So for example, I am interested in golf. I've been interested in golf for 15 years. So that's part of my character. I'm interested in golf. to take an interest means to become interested. So we go from being not interested in something to being interested in something. So in this case, take an interest in someone or something. Let's take a look at some examples. John has taken an interest in art. Now, John wasn't interested in art. He's become interested. So, perhaps he will be interested in art in the future. It will become an interest of his. The next one's an interesting one. My boss has taken an interest in the new intern. So we have a new worker in the company. My boss has taken an interest. Now, sometimes with people, when someone takes an interest in someone else, it can mean there is an attraction. So let's say, for example, the boss is a man, the new intern is an attractive female, and he is attracted to her, so he starts asking questions about her, talking to her, spending time with her. In that case, we would say he has taken an interest in her. Now, in the clip, that's not the case. Watson has a friend. Sherlock suddenly is asking questions about him, so he has taken an interest in Watson's friend. So that's our final expression for today, to take an interest in someone or something. So I hope you enjoyed going back to Sherlock today. I certainly did. We learnt 3 things today. Number 1 was to give someone hell, and that means to make things very unpleasant for them. The next thing we learnt was to count on something, and that means to expect something to be true or to happen, and then sometimes that means that we include it in our plans. The final thing we learnt today was to take an interest in someone or something, and that means to become interested in someone or something. So that's everything I have for you today. Please leave a comment below if you have a question about today's class, or if you have something else you want to learn, and I'll try and make a video for you. I'll be back very soon with About Time and Sherlock and grammar, so have a great day and see you soon.